Donetsk.
Let's discuss the situation in eastern Ukraine with frequent RT guest Marcus Papadopoulos, editor and publisher of Politics First. Thank you for joining us again here on RT. So we've already seen a crackdown in cities in the east, in Lugansk and Donetsk. What do you make of the government handling of this?
Well, the irony of the situation is that it was all very well for there to have been pro-Western protests in Kiev since the beginning, or since the end of last year. But it's not acceptable for there to be pro-Russian protests in the east and south of Ukraine. And that says something about the hypocrisy of Western foreign policy and of Western media. But undoubtedly, the illegitimate authorities in Kiev do see the events in the east and the south of Ukraine as a challenge, as I said, to their illegitimate authority, and they will seek to put an end to the protests there. However, the big question is this: is there the will? Are there the resources within the police units, within the Ukrainian military, to actually be sent to those regions, for example, Odessa, Kharkov, Donetsk, to actually put down these protests? What we have to remember is that Ukraine is a very regionalized country, and many people, for example, in the Donbass region, they feel more loyalty to their own regions as they do to Kiev, and that stems from Soviet times. So while Kiev will seek to put down the protests which are emerging at the moment, is there the resolve amongst police units? We've already heard that a number of police units in the east of the country have refused to follow orders, and that's not a surprise to people who are familiar with Russia and indeed the rest of the former Soviet Union, because Ukraine's borders were artificially drawn up by the Bolsheviks in 1922, and that's something which must be taken into consideration when people are commenting on the situation in Ukraine.
Eastern regions aren't calling for a complete breakaway. They're calling for federalization of the country. Is the crackdown a wise response here? But the government's also said that they will deal with it by force or by diplomacy. Do you think we could see that end up winning the day?
I wouldn't be surprised if Kiev does use violence to put down the protests in the east and the south of the country. And what we have to remember is that 6 members of the illegitimate cabinet in Kiev are made up of ultranationalists, anti-Semites, anti-Russians, who view the Nazi collaborators in Western Ukraine during the Second World War as heroes. So while it would be ideal for both sides to be able to sit down and to talk, and for Kiev to understand that federalization is the only realistic option for Ukraine, I do fear that because of the nature of the people in Kiev, they will resort to violence, and of course that will be catastrophic for the Ukrainian population.
All right, we have to leave it there. Marcus Papadopoulos from Politics First, thank you for joining us again.